Life update. I got a condo. Guys, I own a condo. It's crazy. I was living in the US for a few years, and now that I'm back in Canada, I wanted something a little more permanent. So I bit the bullet and was fortunate enough to get into the housing market. I've had such a good time decorating my place, buying furniture, making it my own, but now it's time to tackle the final boss, which is my home music studio. My music setup has changed a lot over the years. It's also moved with me a lot, but this is the first time in my life that I actually have a room, a dedicated room for my creative space. I've always had my music stuff in my bedroom, so I'm really excited to make this space my own. So I just wanted to make a video kind of documenting the studio makeover process, and hopefully it'll inspire some of you to make some changes to your creative space or home office or music studio, whatever it is. I do plan to live here for a while, so I can put a little more attention into getting everything exactly how I want it to be. Also, because I own this place, I can actually paint the walls and put stuff in the walls, so that's really exciting. But I will say that a lot of the changes I'm making are also renter friendly, so if you're looking for inspiration and you're renting, I hope you keep watching, because there should still be a lot of good stuff in here. So let's quickly talk about my style and inspiration for this room. As you can see, starting with a blank slate, it's a white, square-ish room. There's not a whole lot going on in here right now. This is my temporary setup. And so I'm looking to turn this into like a moody, atmospheric, comfortable, inspiring kind of space. In terms of style, I want like lots of greens and walnut woods, very warm, very natural. Basically like what a hobbit hole would look like if hobbits were a bit more organized. Because I don't want messy, I just want it to be like comfortable and warm, you know? And lastly, I want the space to be functional. I mean, things should be where they are for a reason. I want to be able to grab instruments off the wall. I want them to be really easily accessible. You know, I don't want to have to go into my closet and get like a case out and open the case and get the instrument out. I want them on hand, and then everything connected to my desk should work. I want all the tools set up and ready to go. Overall, I just want to be able to come into this room and feel inspired and ready to create. With all that said, I think that's the intro. Let's get started. Hi, it's me from the future. I am not very good at the vlog style stuff, so I decided I'm just gonna talk about the whole studio makeover process in hindsight, and I'll just put clips and footage over top of that. The first thing I will say in hindsight is this whole process took a lot longer than I anticipated it taking. I thought I could do this in like a week. Yeah, I kid you not, it has been 2 months. I do have long COVID, so I need to cut myself a little bit of slack, but just a heads up, if you're planning on making changes to your space, maybe give yourself more time than you think you'll need, and don't do this if you have big deadlines coming up. Okay, so let's dive into it. The first thing that I had to do, obviously, was clear everything out of the room, which was not too difficult for me since I had just kind of moved in and I just had a temporary desk set up, so that didn't take too long. And then, yeah, prepping for painting the walls. For paint, it took me a really long time to decide on a color. I'm very indecisive, and I've never gone with a darker color before, so it was just a little scary, you know, picking a darker color. Which paint color? That one? The color I ended up going with is called Weathersfield Moss from Benjamin Moore's Heritage Collection. I knew that I wanted green, but I chose this specific shade of green because I wanted something a little more earthy, a little bit more warm, and also something that would complement the walnut tones that I wanted to have in here. Even though this is a Benjamin Moore shade, I picked up my paint at Sherwin-Williams because they had a sale going on at the time. This is their Captivate paint. I got it in the satin finish, and I like how it turned out, but to be honest, I prefer the Behr Marquee in eggshell that I used in the rest of my home. Sherwin-Williams is great though if you can get one of their fancier cans of paint, which I would recommend if you can catch one of their really good sales of the year. Sometimes they do 40 or 50% off. So my mom came over to help me paint, which I really appreciated. I have a health condition that makes tasks involving reaching and standing really difficult, so big shout out to my mom. Everyone give my mom 2 thumbs up in the comments because I really appreciated her help. To be honest, when this paint went on the walls, at first I was a little uncertain about my choice. We did the first layer of paint, so we're going to do the second coat today. It's looking good. It's dark. It's dark, but it's looking good. It was a lot of green, I think, and it also, like, just seeing the room go from white to this dark green, it was a pretty big difference. So I was feeling a little uncertain at first, but spoiler alert, once everything else came together in the room and kind of split up the overwhelming amount of green in here, it really grew on me. That's a wrap on painting. After painting, the plan was to do 2 wood slat walls, one behind my desk as kind of like a statement wall, and one on the opposite wall, which would end up being my instrument wall. The folks over at the Wood Veneer Hub sent me some of their acoustic wood slat panels to try out. I got mine in walnut, and one of the great things about these panels, besides the fact that they just absolutely look fantastic, is that they are a great sound dampening solution. Since I have now moved into a condo, I really don't want to get noise complaints when I'm singing at the top of my lungs all day and into the evening, so I was really excited to try these. I was honestly super impressed with the quality of these panels. I had my dad come over and help me install them, and he also said multiple times how impressed he was with just how nice they are. They were really easy to install. My dad brought over a table saw just to make things a little faster, and I know that's a little intimidating to some people, but you can also use a hand saw to cut them down. It's really not bad at all. And then to put them on the wall, it's just 9 screws per panel. Directly into the wall, easy peasy. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the Wood Veneer Hub for sending these over. I absolutely love how they completely transformed this space. This room is a whole different room because of the wood panels, and the fact that they help with the sound absorption is huge. So they have my honest recommendation. Go check them out if you would like. Before I move on, I did want to mention that I will be putting a link in the description to my website. I made a page where I'll put all of the products that I use in this studio makeover. So if anything piques your interest, go check that out. You'll be able to find the link where you can buy that. Some of them are affiliate links, so those support the channel if you use them. And also I was able to secure quite a few discount codes, so you might find a good deal. So yeah, check that out. Description. Yes. Oh, I'm not paying enough attention to you today. No. All right, let's talk about the desk. Edgar, you want to talk about the desk? I have been using the IKEA jerker desk. I've been using that desk for quite a few years, and I really liked it, but I'd say my biggest complaint about it was having to reach over my mouse and keyboard to play my MIDI keyboard. Ow! Edgar, if you want to stay, you have to be good. You gonna be good? Clearly not. Okay. Ow! Out you go. You have been banished. Sorry about that. So I was using the famous IKEA jerker desk, but my biggest complaint was having to reach over my mouse and keyboard to play my MIDI keyboard. I've always wanted one of those fancy pull-out piano keyboard drawers, but when I looked into the purpose-built studio desks, they start at like thousands of dollars. So I was thinking, why don't I just do it myself? Why don't I make a desk myself? All right, make a desk is an overstatement. Why don't I compile a desk myself? There we go. You may have heard of the IKEA countertop desk hack. It's basically just you go to IKEA, you buy a countertop, you slap some legs on there, slap maybe some Alex drawers on there, and boom, you got a large wood top, beautiful desk. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. The only thing I added was a drawer for a full-sized MIDI keyboard. The IKEA countertops usually come in 2 different sizes, 74 inches long and 98 inches long if you want like a really long desk. I went with 74 just because it fit my space a little bit better, and I picked the Carlby because I wanted the walnut finish. So the countertop set me back about $270, but they do have wood laminate options that look really nice, and they start at about $100, which is pretty cheap. And they also have more premium options as well if you want something even fancier. I finally retired the old 49 key Axiom that I borrowed from my brother 10 years ago. and it just never gave it back. I did give it back to him last week, and I think he had totally forgotten about it. Sorry, Cam. I decided to get an 88 key Arturia Essential MK3. One thing that just kind of worked out with this MIDI keyboard is that its dimensions are pretty tight. So it's not too thick, and lengthwise, I think it's one of the shortest 88 keys on the market. So it works really well for an under desk pullout. One note for composers though is that the mod wheel is above the keys. It's kind of like towards the back rather than to the left of the keys. So if you're planning on using the mod wheel built into the controller rather than an external MIDI controller, then maybe keep that in mind. For myself, I ordered one of these Breeze controllers from Souffle, and it actually fits on the keyboard tray with my keyboard, which just worked out. And I'm going to be using that for my modulation. Once I knew what MIDI keyboard and MIDI controller I was getting, I needed to just measure everything out, make sure everything would fit on the underside of this desk. That is very important. Always measure. One thing that really helped me to visualize how it would all fit on the underside of the desk is I actually taped everything out with painter's tape on my floor. That was really helpful, actually. I needed to see it to know that it would work. At first, my plan was just to do 4 legs and a support leg in the middle, but I found out that I had space enough to add some drawers to one side, which was really nice. So I did 2 legs on one side, support leg in the middle, just to prevent sag. I'm going to be putting a lot of weight on this thing. And then I put the drawers on the other side. For the legs, I got the Olov legs from IKEA. They are adjustable height, so I grabbed those just because I wasn't 100% sure exactly how tall this desk was going to be, and I just didn't want to have to stress about it. I also grabbed some furniture risers from Amazon. I think the ones that I got are 3 inches. I'll put them in my product page, of course. But the reason I got those was just because I knew with the under desk pull-out drawer that the whole desk would just have to be a little bit higher, so I had enough space for my legs underneath. At first, I was going to put the risers on the bottom of the drawers, but then I decided to put them in between the drawers and the desktop just to give myself an extra little cubby, which I ended up putting my audio interface in, so it all worked out. I also ordered the keyboard tray sliders from Amazon. They worked out great. Make sure you measure how deep your keyboard is and make sure that the sliders you get pull out that amount. The hardest piece to find for the desk was the shelf that I used for the keyboard tray. I kind of looked around IKEA trying to see if they had something that would work, but I didn't find anything. I ended up finding someone on Marketplace selling Baltic birch shelves, so I went and picked up one of those. My dad cut it down to size for me, and then I painted it black. My dad also added a metal bracket to the back to prevent any sag, but unfortunately with the weight of my keyboard on there, there's still a tiny bit of bowing, and I'm not sure how to prevent that. I'm not sure if it's possible. If you have ideas, feel free to comment below, but as far as I know, there's not really a way to prevent that, so I don't know. I think it's strong enough. So far, I have not had any issues. And that's it. That's the desk. Like, it was pretty simple to compile, actually. Besides finding the shelf for the pull-out drawer, everything else was really easy to compile, and I love it. I love how spacious it feels, but it's also such a space saver having the keyboard kind of slide in under it. So I would really recommend doing it to anyone who's looking for this kind of studio desk. It's a really affordable way to do it, and it's really not too hard. The countertop is really heavy though. Get a friend to help you. I could never have moved the countertop into my car by myself. So if you're getting one of these IKEA countertops, prepare. It's heavy, you guys. I finished off the whole look with these Grand Gemini speaker stands from Wavebone, and I absolutely love them. I was really nervous about the wood tone on them not matching my desk tone, but they actually matched really, really well. They almost look like they were made for each other, and yeah, everything just looks really cohesive with the black metal matching and everything. It's perfect. I also continued my quest for the perfect chair. Those of you who've been following me for a while know that I've gone through like 5 chairs in the last few years. So I ended up upgrading from a Secret Lab to an H1 Pro ergonomic chair from Hinomi. So far, I've definitely noticed that I can sit at my desk for longer amounts of time without getting sore or tired, which is great. It's also great that there's the option to get the armrest just completely out of the way, especially because when you pull out that piano keyboard, you don't want your armrest like bumping into that. So really handy feature to have. You really like it, don't you? So a huge thank you to Hinomi for sending me this chair to try out. My lower back is eternally thankful. I I love it so far. And if you guys are interested in this chair or anything else from Hinomi, I have a $20 off coupon code in that product page that I keep hinting at. Let's talk about cable management, everyone's favorite thing to do. I put this off for a very long time. I do not enjoy doing cable management, but then Edgar started chewing on the cables under my desk and I knew it was time because he's very cute and I want him to be safe. I have this big power strip that I had taped to the bottom of the desk with some really heavy sticky tape, but clearly that did not work out. So I'm going to be screwing that on the underside of the desk. I also got 2 of these for my cable management under the desk. We'll be screwing those in so that they look nice and clean and I can just tuck all my cables behind. If I had one of those label makers, I would probably label each end of each cable because that's really annoying when you're looking for a certain cable, but I don't have one of those right now and I'm feeling kind of lazy, so I think I might just stuff them all in here and call it a day. I do want to mention, if you are planning on doing cable management, I would recommend attaching your power strip and cable holders before you flip your desk over and set everything up on the desk. It was a little harder than I anticipated it being. We no longer have any plugs or anything on the floor. Now it's just a matter of hiding all these cables. I actually don't know how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hold this with my foot. So I got one in, and let me tell you, I would not recommend doing this after your desk is set up. For me, this hadn't come in the mail yet, so I got anxious to get back to work and I just set my desk up and we are dealing with the consequences of that now. I have sawdust in my eyes. I would recommend getting a friend to help you. This is the very strong double-sided tape and it is really great for sticking stuff like this. This is my USB switch. Sticking stuff like this under your desk, really great. It's really sticky, but it doesn't damage surfaces, which is excellent. So having the power strip and the cable holders all on the underside of the desk gets all of the cables off the floor. And I would really recommend it if you want that like cableless look. It's looking real good under there. All right, so the walls are done, the desk is done. This is where things start to get kind of fun because it's kind of decorating from here on out, which is my favorite part. I really wanted to do an instrument wall because all of my instruments have always lived in their cases in the closet, and I have always wanted to just have them up on the wall, easy to grab, super accessible. I have 6 of these Hercules hangers. They're a little bit pricey, but they're the best in my opinion. I have a cat, so having something that latches is probably smart. I laid out all of my instruments on the floor and tried to figure out kind of what orientation I wanted. And initially, I kind of wanted like a custom orientation so that they all looked just perfectly placed. And I painstakingly measured everything out. And then I realized I was overcomplicating it. And if I ever swap out any of these instruments, the layout just won't work anymore. So I ended up going with something more standard. I went with just a staggered orientation using 2 heights instead. And I'm really glad I did. The horizontal spacing was extremely easy because I just had to count the felt spaces. And then for the height, I just measured from the ceiling. I did have to use longer screws to make up for the felt, and in this case also for the wood because the hangers didn't go all the way to the felt. So I had to find screws that were quite a bit longer. This is the screw that comes with the hangers, and this is the screw I'm going to be using. So from this point, like the rest of the studio is pretty much just personalization, and I kind of anticipate that this personalization process could take years. I really love to thrift, I love to collect things that mean something to me, and you can't really rush that process, so I'm sure this space will be changing a lot. But for now, I will go over what I did add. I got this yellow chair that I'm sitting on right now off of Marketplace, and I thought it would make a perfect corner chair. You know, if I have friends coming over to the studio to work on some music. It also doesn't have any armrests, so it's perfect for playing or recording guitar or another instrument. Every creative space needs a comfy chair. I also got this cool little walnut cabinet off of Marketplace as well, and it's just perfect for storing little knickknacks and also displaying some of my favorite knickknacks. I love a trinket. Call me crazy, but I love a Tiffany lamp. So I was quite ecstatic when I found this one on the side of the road for free. Isn't that incredible? I put it up in the corner of my studio and I absolutely love it. It's so cozy. It's so hobbit core. It's so grandma core. It's so me. I know a lot of people find them ugly, but I couldn't be happier. Now this thing is heavy, so I had to use these ceiling hooks. You have to drill this huge hole in the ceiling and then you put this clamp and then it butterflies out like this. Super strong. I've had obviously no issues with it. If it falls on my head right now, that would really suck, but no, it's been completely fine for the last month. Okay, I kid you not. This has been up for a month, and as soon as I was talking about it, I swear I heard like something in the ceiling shift. It really better not fall. That would be really bad. I'd be very concussed or dead. Please don't fall, lamp. Thank you. That was weird. Going back to sound dampening, curtains or drapes is a really great way to get some sound dampening into your room. I got these off of IKEA. They're pretty heavy, so I'm hoping they'll absorb a good amount of sound. If I'm recording, I'll just close them up. I would actually recommend doubling up on the drapes if you can. You can get like a double curtain rod off of Amazon. That would really help, especially if you do the back layer as like a really heavy fabric that no one's gonna see because it doesn't even need to look that cute. Rugs are a great way of sound dampening your space as well. The thicker the better. Wool is great. For now, I just borrowed this one from my parents, and I'm hoping to eventually get one that fits the dimensions of this room a little bit better. I installed some picture frame shelving on either side of my window, and the reason I went with the picture frame shelving instead of like just putting my stuff on the wall is I like to be able to switch up my decor whenever I want. I'm a little indecisive, so I couldn't really decide exactly where I wanted to put everything, so this is just an easy solution. Last shelf. Woo! Perfect fit. It's like I'm getting better at this or something. Lastly, and on a more functional note, I put up some hooks by my closet. I'm going to be hanging cables and headphones and that sort of thing on those. They're kind of out of the line of sight from this part of the room, so it's still accessible, but it's not in your face kind of storage, you know? I think this is a great start to the decor for this space, but there's still a lot of stuff that I want to do. And one of those things, oh, my microphone. Sorry guys. One of those things is that I want to put plants up in here. I love plants, and I think it would look great to just have, you know, plants scattered around hanging from the ceiling. I had this crazy idea that I think would look really cool, especially in the evening, where with the plants hung up on the walls, get all these old lanterns and put remote controlled candles inside. Just turn them all on with the push of a button. Oh my goodness. I think that'd be so cool, especially if I'm working in the evening. It sounds so cozy. It sounds so hobbit hole, and I kind of want that to happen. So I guess follow me on Instagram if you want to see if that ever happens. I'm not sure if it will, but I would love to do that. Well guys, it was a lot of work, but I am so excited to finally show you my new home studio space. Hope you enjoyed watching this process. I would love to hear what you think of my new space in the comments below. And of course, if you're interested in anything that I use, that includes like all my music gear, like my desk builds, everything in this video that you saw, please check out that link in the description. It'll go to my website, and it's a landing page for all of the stuff that I used. Please consider dropping a like if you enjoyed this video so that more people can find it. And if you want to stick around for some nerdy covers and original music, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Thank you all for your continued support of this channel. I sincerely appreciate it. And if you'd like to take your support to the next level, you can check out the Patreon link in my description to see how you can get connected. Until next time, everybody, bye!